somebody who has a dementia, we really don't anticipate they're going to get much better, because we don't have any magic bullet treatments now from a pharmacological point of view that change the course of dementia. So in that situation, you would be working with somebody and a carer, spouse or carer, to really look at a long-term situation where we're going to expect their functioning to decrease. So your mindset will be quite different about what might be necessary. So while you might want to work with the person to really help provide some structure around the house so they remember where they are, what day it is, cue them in with clocks, help them with strategies to remember what's happening next, diaries, appointments, etc. Sometimes photographs of important people and so forth around them, and whatever. You might have some kind of physical, structural, environmental things, but you might also need to really work with the carer, who then has quite a strain on them to help the person to make sure they're looking after themselves and help them understand what's happening and what sorts of strategies might help them to help the person, reconnect with who they are, where they are, what's happening, etc. And then to kind of make sure there are enough community supports in place so that the couple, for example, might still be able to function as well as they can, and then there may well be a point where the person needs a longer-term care, making sure that they're supported to make that transition. And that would very much involve community nurses and so forth as well. So again, it would be a team effort, but your prognosis is that you're going to need to support people deteriorating over a longer period of time. So it would be a different mindset to somebody post a stroke, where you would expect perhaps a much better recovery. If somebody comes home who's had a stroke, what you do will depend very much on the severity of the stroke. So some really key things would be to establish whether the person is going home to be with a spouse or a carer or a family member, or whether they're going home to be on their own, and what are the sort of supports that they might need in terms of the human supports in the environment, but then to also look at safety and risk by having a good understanding of their physical capacity, so what they can do physically after the stroke, whether they're using a walker or a stick, and what their cognitive and perceptual capacity is, because sometimes after stroke people lose some of their visual field. They might perceive that part of space, so they knock into things, they might have difficulty dressing themselves, etc. So it's really understanding the damage that the stroke's caused, what the residual function that they have, how we can keep improving that, because we know now that it's not like when I was a student where we understood after 6 months that was it, there was no more return. Now we know the brain is much more plastic than we thought, and that recovery continues to happen. But to really understand what they're left with at that point in time, and then how we can help structure the physical environment to help them to be independent if that's needed, or to help a spouse, might need some help with transferring the person, or lifting them, or supervising, keeping an eye out while they're in the shower, or just being aware of what sorts of assistance the person might need. And what we would probably anticipate over time is that person will improve, and some of the things you might put in place initially mightn't be needed in 6 months' time, 12 months' time, 18 months' time. They might be, but they might recover to a point where this is a short-term stopgap, and you anticipate with more day therapy, day rehab, the person will make sometimes almost a full recovery, and there might be very minimal residual issues, but that's going to be very different for different people.